This is my friend, Coke.
Oh, we should start a podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Blue Banana Podcast. I am your Blue Banana, Sophie, and with me I have my lesser counterparts, Yellow Bananas, Manu. Say hello, Manu.
Hello there.
Thank you.
I wanted
That's
to the
it.
Obi-Wan.
And Liam, say hello. No, that was enough. I just said hello. All you had to say was hello.
That was all I had to say. Hello, Liam.
Thank you. Thank you for following instructions.
Hello.
Thanks for obeying orders. Liam has already been
Yes,
conditioned.
Exactly. He knows what happens. I'll get out the whip.
Yeah, you see, my advantage is Sophie can't physically hurt me, just mentally, just
No,
not
but
physically.
She can
Liam has
mentally
been
torture
conditioned.
you, and trust me, that's so much worse.
Believe me, Manu.
Like-
You will wish that I could only torture you physically.
I was
going to
say there are certain times when I crave the whip.
Fully understandable. I
All right,
understand.
Liam, you keep that to the bedroom, Liam. We don't need to.
in
find out all
comparison
your-
to your mental torture. I mean,
I think Liam just enjoys the whip in his free time
Yeah,
whenever.
I mean, who doesn't?
exactly.
How are you guys both doing today?
One or the other end of the whip. Most people enjoy it.
I'm doing.
Sub or the dom.
Gotta mix it up.
Welcome to our S&M episode.
Mix it up.
Sophie
That's
outing
how I
herself
should-
with the red sweater. I think we all know who Sophie is.
I take off my belt. Everything below the waist, it's like garters.
So many garters.
God.
Just only garters.
Yes, that's just legs full of garters.
For the sex episode, we all have a red and black background. We have velvet
Like
curtains,
nice
Muscle
yeah,
velvet. Yes.
and leather masks. It's a special episode.
Where all our wildest dreams can come true.
Anyways, what's your topic, Sophie?
My topic. I am going to have to confess that I couldn't come up with a topic today.
Gasp.
That's just
My
lazy as
deepest, it is. I do deeply apologize. I have some wild string of thoughts that are loosely not connected at all, actually.
fuck. But that sounds so
But
promising.
I must confess that I wasn't ready to have my episode come around again this quickly. And then today, I told you guys recently that I'm at a stage with my life where my life's a meme and I'm that fire meme with the dog and, everything is fine. But I'm here to tell you guys that everything is not fine. This week, I feel like I'm at a stage in my life where I'm the dog and I'm going, holy shit, things are not fine. Someone put out the fire. Right now, I'm gonna get burnt.
Sophie, do you want to talk on the podcast, or do we need to get you a
This is fine.
therapist, like a real therapist?
And maybe that's what today's episode's going to be. Today, you guys are going to be my unpaid counselors
Nice.
to help me calm down.
I actually know a psychiatrist, so you could say I'm somewhat of an expert myself.
My wife is a psychologist, so you could say I'm somewhat of an expert as well. You
Oh,
can't.
really?
You
Okay.
can't say that at all. Especially
Yeah. There's a reason why I was feeling a little bit more on edge today than any other reason. And that's because not too long ago, maybe a couple of hours ago, I had to pick up my mum from work. And I was driving, unfortunately, at a time where it was like peak traffic.
Not peak fiction, but peak traffic.
No, not peak fiction. I wish it was peak fiction.
Sophie's just thinking in YouTube terms.
I know all the big tag words, right? Keywords.
This
that will
traffic
make
light
things-
just changed everything.
Maybe it actually will change my perception of myself forever, because I always thought that I was quite a gracious driver. I don't have very bad road rage. Yeah, I'm also usually quite patient. I like to let people in.
Humble, also very humble.
Yes, I'm also very humble. I'm a very humble person, as you guys can tell. But today, I was driving on my way to pick up my mum in peak traffic, and then I saw that a car was trying to turn into the same road, and I was on the main road. So I let him in because, like I said, I'm a gracious driver, and I knew that if I didn't let him in, who knows how long it would be before he'd be able to turn into this extremely busy road. But then after he turned in, he didn't do the
courtesy
he didn't
wave.
follow
Ah.
yes, the driving etiquette and put his hands up to say thank you. Things like that never used to bother me, and I don't know if it's just because
So I set his
I'm
car
just
on
super
fire.
stressed out lately. Yeah, so I got out the car, I got the baseball bat, and I swung as out
No,
of the
not the baseball
I
bat.
didn't. I just quietly seethed to myself.
It starts at a quiet seethe. I reckon in, maybe 3 to 5 years' time, it's going to get to a very loud seething. Couple more years, and you are going to be yelling, "Fuck you," out your window as he drives away, unable to hear you. That's your path.
Yeah, I've actually had the exact same experience as you, Sophie. So I'm just wondering if it's not just age related. As you said.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, it is, I think, because I was the same thing. Like, I've been driving for maybe like 8 or 9 years now at this point, maybe even more. And I remember I was like, oh yeah, whatever. I used to tell like my friends, I was like, chill, it's not that important. Like I have a few friends who like have been road raging ever since they got their driver's license, basically. But like I also like to see myself or count myself amongst the like gracious drivers until like every year I feel like recently it's been getting really bad. Where I'm also like annoyed by really minor things on the road.
It's only gonna get worse.
And it doesn't matter which way it goes. Like, it also happens, I feel like, even when you're the driver and you know you've done something bad or you've done something slightly annoying, and if someone gets annoyed at you, you're just like, shut up.
Yeah,
Like, it's
genuinely.
fine. Doesn't matter which side you're on.
Yeah, you become much more liberal with like honking at people.
That's the one thing that I still haven't gotten to, though. I don't really honk at people.
Oh, you'll get there.
You
You're
reckon?
already on the trajectory. I can see it now.
Next week, we'll come back to another episode of like, guess what, guys? I honked it.
Sophie, may I just say, you're wearing a very aggressive color today, and I don't appreciate the hostility of the red.
You're wearing black.
I'm sorry, what did you just call me?
You're wearing black.
Yeah, that's not hostile. That's chill, relaxing. You go to sleep in a dark room.
But red can mean passion. Red can
Yeah,
mean love.
anger and
I've also
bloodshed.
got-
Sophie makes
Yellow,
love to you
yeah.
and then sets you on fire.
Red is
Black
volatile and
Widow.
unpredictable. Black is just soothing nothingness.
Dark and void.
What is white? Innocence.
Manu's trying really hard to create some sort of image here. We can see right through you, Manu. The white, no. You're not going to fool anyone with the
No,
white.
I tried so hard.
The white is the symbol of a man who is far too confident in a country that is currently experiencing summer. Far too confident.
Fair enough.
Do we start seeing like gray patches as the podcast
It's
continues?
fine. My aircon is right here. I'm safe.
I don't know if I should mention this because I feel like people might think I'm just being very up myself and I'm being very patriotic.
It's too late for that, Sophie.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say it now anyways. I don't know how true it is. I can say anecdotally that it's true, but apparently Koreans have a genetic, I guess, malfunction, but in a positive sense, where they actually sweat less.
Oh, a
or even if
mutation.
they sweat, a mutation, a genetic mutation where sweat apparently doesn't smell very bad.
That's amazing. You're like one of the X-Men with that power.
I don't know if that's just something that Koreans have just told themselves and told the rest of the world just to be up themselves, or if it's true. But I will actually say for myself that I find that I'm not someone who sweats very much. And I don't think I have, I mean, I guess, again, it's a bit very up myself to say that I don't think I smell. But like, I don't think I have, I don't find myself that I've got like extremely bad body odor even after I go for a workout or
Nobody
I
something.
don't
asked,
think your
Sophie.
body can hold enough. I don't think your body can hold enough liquid to sweat profusely.
I feel like the experience I've made is like I had a time, especially in uni and late high school, when I did martial arts 6 out of 7 days a week. And when your body is in like this constant state of kind of like activity, like in that phase where I was basically exercising, like hard exercise every single day, even just walking fast, even in winter, I would break a sweat in like a minute. While I can tell like phases where I exercise less, I start sweating less easily.
That's really bizarre. I wonder how that works biologically, because I would think that it's the other way around.
Why?
Because your body's constantly exercising. That, I don't know, maybe your body just becomes accustomed.
But it's just because your body's constantly expecting you to like go hardcore, I guess.
Right.
That's the way I would explain it. But I'm
So
not a
it's
physician.
preparing you in advance. Suppose if you're doing something particularly extreme, very commonly, your body might go, oh, we gotta be ready.
Yeah, maybe. That would make sense, I guess. In addition to Sophie's point about Koreans, like I'm mind blown. It's here. It's 40 degrees outside with 80% humidity, whatever that is. It's like 105 degrees Fahrenheit or
much.
whatever. Too hot. And people walk around in suits and with hats and masks and everything.
Hats, Jesus.
Not breaking a sweat while I'm just here in my shorts and flip-flops and I'm like, sheesh, dude. Someone get a bucket. So, I don't know. Maybe it's an Asian thing. Maybe like Asian people just discipline the sweat away.
It's one of the things we're taught at 5.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
kindergarten. No sweating. No sweating allowed.
Control your body.
I certainly missed all of those lessons, Sophie, because I am the exact opposite of you. It just takes a mild bit of heat and it's like I am swimming in my own sweat.
You look like me, Liam. You look like a sweater.
Oh yeah, I am. That's the European heritage, you know? That's just what we get. Our genetic mutation is to sweat more. We are the less popular X-Men.
Yeah, we're sweatmen.
Sweatmen.
Sweatman. Sweatman.
I mean, on that topic of fashion, I think we might as well discuss this on the podcast, I guess, because I think did we talk about this before? It would be really interesting to actually get like merchandise and, you know, have like the basically Sophie wears like something different and we like two colors and Sophie wears one and we were matching one's Liam, kind of like, and have that would end all the quarrel and we'd have active advertisement for merchandise as well.
Are you suggesting we get uniforms?
Yeah, banana merch.
Staff uniform.
Banana shirts.
I'm gonna go ahead and suggest a black shirt with a blue banana mascot on it. Anything else doesn't really jam with my style.
Oh my god.
Maybe like a jacket or something, like a colored jacket. Whoa, that'd be crazy.
I think we should get caps.
Caps, like full banana beanie.
That would be great. Can we get a beanie in the shape of a banana?
One that like flops down.
I would love that.
That'd be so cool.
I would love
Link.
that.
The top is brown and then the thing is yellow.
It'll look like I don't know. There's a popular Korean like show, like an animation show where it looks like, you know, those sleeping hats. But anyways,
Right, the
yeah,
night
would
caps.
remind me of a sleeping hat. Yeah, like a Santa Claus
That'd
hat.
be so good. Especially with like Spy Family, like with Anya wearing that sleeping hat. Oh, that's so cute.
Have you guys been following Spy Family? I have to say that I've been reading and I've caught up on the manga, and now because I've caught up on the manga, my life's just sad because they don't release weekly. But I stopped watching the anime because I was trying to watch it on stream, but for some reason my streaming software doesn't let me. I can't watch, like, I don't know, there's a breakdown between my streaming software trying to connect it to Crunchyroll and whatever, so I haven't really been able to use it.
Do you get like the black screen when you try?
It's not so much the black screen, it's because I need to, you know how certain series on Crunchyroll is under a paywall, which is fine because
What?
I have a Crunchyroll account. Yeah, you have to pay. Like, you have to have an account, right?
Well, they like release the episodes a week early for the people who pay, and then they become publicly available a week later.
I don't think that's the case because I have a premium account.
Crunchyroll Premium is like $30 for a year or something.
No, it's not.
Maybe I have one of the old contracts.
It's like $90 a year.
No, I
That
pay
is,
30
at the very
bucks.
least, what it used to be. They used to gate new episodes and then release them for free.
I pay $30 a year.
I pay 90.
Pay
Wow.
90. I
That
didn't even
sucks.
know what I
Yeah.
paid. I've just kept the account going for too long now.
I mean, I don't mind paying it. I think I get my use out of it. I also think collectively, because so many people in my circle have my Crunchyroll account, I think collectively we really get the use out of it, even though I'm the only one paying.
Can I just say that Crunchyroll, you pretty much need to pay for it, because if you're using it for free, it is borderline unwatchable. Because every time you're going through a 20-minute episode, you start with like 3 minutes of ads, then 2 minutes into it, you get another 3 minutes of unskippable ads, by the way. At least on YouTube, you can skip them. But like,
We're preempting the comments like, all you fucking YouTubers also have ads on your videos.
Yeah, but as a business model, I think that's absolutely legit. Because, I mean, I think it's honestly kind of nice in the first place that they're like, if you really can't pay or really don't want to pay, you can still watch it, but at least watch ads. I think that's fair enough.
Yeah, I think it's fair as well.
I mean, it's
I'm not-
fair. It's fair, but the ads on Crunchyroll are more obnoxious than ads run on any other free service, in my opinion.
I would agree, but I don't mind.
Like, it actively drives me off the platform.
Really, I've never seen Crunchyroll ads, so I can't.
Well, I never have to deal with it in my private life, but basically how it works on my streaming software is I have to sign in through my streaming software to watch it on Crunchyroll, but then there's something wrong on, I don't think the streaming software is actually built for Macs, and because I've got a Mac, I can't sign in because some of the keyboard functions just don't work. Like, a lot of the shifts or a lot of the letters like just don't work. If you type in a number, it might backspace, and then if you actually try to backspace because you did something wrong, it ends up typing a capital B. I've contacted the OBS system and they've said that they'll get back to me twice, and it hasn't yet happened. So basically, if I want to do something on Twitch and actually want to watch something with to stream, I have to watch it something that's free on Crunchyroll. And all of Spy Family, I think up to episode 3 last time I checked, was free, and then afterwards it's not even like you have to watch ads. Like, I'll be fine watching ads, I'll deal with that. It's like you actually can't watch it.
Really?
Yeah, so because of that, I've now faced a problem where I feel like I'll sort of be betraying everyone who I started watching Spy Family with if I watched it on my own.
Do you have Netflix? Just use Netflix and go to Japan. They have all the anime.
With our sponsor,
Don't give them free promotion if they're not giving us money.
There are so many of them. Any one of you could sponsor us.
Please sponsor us.
This is literally free real estate.
Look at this. Look at how much space there is.
No, I just find it funny because I did a sponsorship with a VPN who I won't name here because they're obviously not paying us. But that was the exact scenario I used. I was like, you want to watch Spy Family? Go to Netflix Japan. Bam. Easy. Because it was a hot thing at the time.
Or move to Japan. Also very effective.
That'll be a good one for when the Japanese Immigration Bureau sponsors me.
Sure.
Yes.
You keep that in mind, that one.
I don't think that will ever happen.
You sweat too much to fit in.
The idea of them sponsoring me and the idea of them wanting immigrants as well.
That's the bigger problem. They might sponsor you to get people out of Japan, maybe.
Yeah, to convince people to move out of Japan. Get that Manu guy out and we'll give you
Have
10
you
grand.
ever considered not living in Japan? Don't you think other countries also have nice things?
What about Thailand? Have you considered Thailand, maybe?
Have you considered Korea? It's only a ferry ride away.
As the Straw Hats are now leaving Wano, I ask myself, wouldn't it also be nice leaving a country? Which is good, which is where today's sponsor comes in. Don't live in Japan.
The borders remain closed. Get out.
It's funny, I've actually done I tried to bulk my sponsorship writings because it's always like writing sponsorships, especially if you're not sure yet what video they get into, is like such an interesting part of writing. So I try to bulk them together. So I've done that today. So I'm in the mood.
You're in the sponsor mood. Okay.
You're in the sponsor
I'm in
mood.
the sponsor mood. This podcast is sponsored by Liam, who's a world-class editor for the Ohara channel.
And Anime Balls Deep.
Anime Balls
And
Deep.
ABD.
They don't know that yet.
They don't know it, but I edit all their videos. Yeah.
That'd be such a power move. Imagine you edit in secret for your biggest competitor, and then you're like, I'm just pulling all support on your videos. Dude, that'd be such a power move. I've not
that would
only
be a
grown
power
my
move.
channel, I've grown yours.
Like slipping in secret messages to subscribe to my channel in their videos.
Exactly.
Just subliminal messages throughout the entire video.
This is a reference to our previous episode, by the way, where I had an awkward encounter with people who asked me what I did. I didn't want to tell them, but I had to keep it in the same realm. So my mind said, I edit for Ohara.
Well, if you watch every episode till the end, you'll know this story, because I think it was the end of last
But,
episode.
you know, if you've just come into this one, good job. Hello.
Thank you. Welcome.
Don't want to
Welcome.
exclude you. We've got to
Finish
do a
this
little recap.
episode and then go
and then
watch
go
that
back and watch
episode.
the other one.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about that story today, Liam, and it was making me chuckle because it kept coming into my head. I think it was just one of the funniest things I've heard recently.
It's one of the
And it's just-
dumbest things I've ever said.
That's so fun. It's hilarious.
I can actually understand how it works because I understand that under times of pressure, your mind just blurts anything that seems to make sense. But the more you think about it, but it's why would an editor need a life-size statue of Zoro? Why would the editor need it?
Why would the editor need all of this camera gear that you've just brought to my office? All of these lights, all of these microphones.
All that One Piece gear brought to his new studio.
Yeah.
I get that it doesn't make sense. I'm not good on the spot. But anything to avoid saying who I am to the people who now have my home address and my office address.
I was kind of thinking when you said to put in subtle messages to subscribe to your channel. It reminded me. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I remember when I was younger, I heard this rumor that Coke, for example, would put one frame or half a second, 2 frames of their product into movies and TV shows. So you basically don't register it because it's so fast, but your brain allegedly subconsciously registers it. I'm not sure if that's true though.
I have heard of this and companies have tried it, but I think it has been proven to be ineffective. The whole subliminal thing. Good on them for trying though.
It sounds very much like a conspiracy, but I can also see that it companies would really try it. But at the same time, Coke does so many other things as well. Isn't that how it works? Coke pretty much owns every
Everything.
vendor's rights.
Oh yeah.
So that when you have a not even a vending machine, but even when you go into a store and they're selling different brands, I think the way it works is like everything that Coke owns has to be sort of within eye level, and then it's all the other brands that gets like either the top row or the bottom row, because that's obviously not where your eye hits first.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they also own a lot of other stuff that's not Coke related. Like, I know a lot of water.
Yeah, exactly.
Like water stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Nestle, kind of a bit fucked. Yeah.
Yeah, people don't have a right to water, by the way. That was the Nestle CEO. Not my quote. I don't believe that.
Like that, Liam, that's just gonna be a highlight. 2 seconds. People don't have a right to water, and
No
then
one
it's
has
just
a right
credit
to
roll.
As I drink my water.
No one has a right to water.
Good water. From good water to awkward silence. What the fuck happened there?
Well, I was trying to finish my cup of water.
Were you trying to scull your
guys
water?
didn't
No, Sophie.
You guys didn't see
You
it?
meant to sip. I saw, but I
wanna
was
see,
like,
yeah.
what are you doing?
Oh, well, I thought I achieved it. But no, water is good. Everyone should drink a lot of water.
Great opinion, Sophie. Great opinion. Give us another.
Unpopular opinion, I would actually say that water is my favorite drink.
Oh, you're super boring for saying that.
Would you not agree?
No.
I disagree.
Water is what I drink the most because it's healthy and everything.
It's my most common drink.
But I genuinely like the taste of water.
There is no taste. How?
No,
No, water has
Water-
taste. Oh, I disagree there with you.
Water
Liam.
has a taste. I think water tastes like life.
Life is very disappointing if that's the taste.
No, water tastes
Dull.
like life. It actually feels like it gives me life.
What kind of water are you drinking? From which specially crafted tap?
Water gives me life.
Yeah, I mean, if that could be our merch, I wouldn't be disappointed with that.
I mean, bad water definitely has a taste, most certainly.
I would agree that different water, like water can definitely have a taste. I would absolutely agree to that.
Tell you what, water in Iceland tastes fantastic, but it just stinks because of all of the, what is Icelandic water? What's it got in it? Sodium?
Poop.
Like, it stinks like shit. It 100% does. The first time I went into the bathroom in Iceland, I was like, someone not flush the toilet or what?
It's probably the sulfur.
Really?
It's like what you have in the onsen here in the hot
sulfur,
springs in Japan
sulfur.
too.
Yes, that's the one. I don't chemistry. I am not a chemistry.
I do really like water, but it's definitely not my favorite drink. I mean, there's so many like good alcoholic beverages, like good cocktails.
Yeah, I
They
was
make
gonna
you
ask,
fat.
is it?
They make like beer makes you fat, and as though does like a pina colada, but I would say it tastes nicer than water. Not saying that water, I do like it a lot as well, but I wouldn't say favorite.
I guess it's different because you obviously enjoy the taste of beer. And I can't say that I enjoy the taste of beer.
Why? Because you're already drunk when it touches your lips, right?
Basically. Well, no, because I don't remember anything of it because I just go straight to sleep and I black out. No, but seriously, I don't enjoy the taste of beer. I don't enjoy the taste of most alcohol for the taste of it. Like, if I'm drinking alcohol, it would be because I want to get drunk, because that is for the purpose of us. Like, that's what we're doing that night. But I wouldn't say I enjoy it.
I would say that's true for like spirits, but I think like a good cocktail or a really like an ice cold beer, like when it's really warm outside and you have like a good meal and like you've worked hard and you drink a really cold beer and like there's like nothing better.
It depends on the beer.
That is very true.
I mean, yeah, you
But
guys,
still.
German beer, I would say, is better than most
And say
beer.
what, like Tui's New or VB
Yeah,
or 4X?
exactly.
You know, the holy trinity of shit beers of Australia.
Japanese beer is actually also pretty good.
Well, that's because they all learned brewing in Germany.
Because you colonize them.
Literally, they sent people to Bavaria and Munich to study.
Well, they did something right. Okay, so Manu likes beer. Liam, your favorite drink?
I like beer. Still like beer.
I'm gonna go ahead and say not beer. Some beers are fantastic in the right setting, but if you're going for a drink that I would just flat out call
Can
my
I guess? Actually, I know.
I think
know.
you know. I reckon you know, so go for it.
Chocolate milk.
No, but you're very close. It would be like a really well-made chocolate thick shake.
Chocolate thick milkshake. That's what I meant. Ah! That's exactly what I meant. Damn
But
it.
very specifically thick shake instead of milkshake.
Oh, thick shake, not milkshake. Oh, that's Riley's favorite as well, actually.
What's the difference between a milkshake and a thick shake?
One's thick.
How much ice cream scoops go into it?
So it becomes like thick and viscous as opposed to loose.
They sell it at McDonald's.
They do. That's where I discovered my love as a like a 5-year-old child.
As a wee child.
As a wee lad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thick shakes are pretty good. You often find in Australia, even though they say it's a thick shake,
I know
it
they
usually
lie.
comes out as a milkshake. It's very disappointing.
That hits me right here or here, wherever my heart is. I always forget which side of my body it's on. It hits me, and they charge extra for the thick shake.
Exactly.
And it makes you wonder, what was the milkshake then? Was it just no liquid? Was it just milk? In what world is this thick?
I completely
It sickens
agree.
me, Sophie. It sickens me.
I like to order one thick shake, please.
And when you order that, you don't expect like drippy milk.
It's almost like you would be slurping ice cream.
That'd be a cool segment for you on Dude in a Room, Liam. It could just be like short clips of you driving, like ordering thick shakes and being like, not thick enough. Try again.
You don't know how close you are to my life right now. Whenever my wife and I go out to somewhere new for like a breakfast or a lunch occasion and it's like too early to do something alcoholic, it's always sampling what thick shake is on the menu. And then my wife says a deep sigh and asks me, so what would you rate it out of 10? Because we've been together for almost 10 years now. My wife understands that I am a connoisseur of thick shakes and that I have very specific ratings, and so she just wants to get that part over with.
Did you ever give one a 10 out of 10?
Yep, you rate them by thickness, you rate them by amount of chocolatiness, and you rate them by how cold they are, because sometimes they'll come out like a little bit room temperature, and I don't like my milk room temperature. You either go really cold or you go really hot. None of this in the middle business.
In case you just jumped into this podcast, we're talking about ice cream drinks, not anime girls, just to clear that up.
I like my
Really
anime
cold
girls
or
really cold.
really hot.
Chocolatey
Really
and thick.
cold.
The thicker the better.
Who is the cold anime girl?
The coldest chocolatey anime girl. And she's thick.
What do you rate Elsa?
Elsa. My favorite anime girl, Elsa.
Not very chocolatey.
Not so chocolatey, yeah. So only 3 out of 10.
Elsa would not get rated very high at all. I would say a good thick shake, just good, is about a 7 to 7.5. Anything less than that, and I'm honestly a little bit disappointed. And it's very rare that something goes above that.
I should introduce you to a few places.
You should.
We should do a smash and pass for drinks.
Is this alcoholic beverages?
Anything.
Pass.
Is milk a smash or a pass?
Smash. I like milk. I like just plain milk.
What about soju?
Soju, I will smash and then it will smash me. As in, I will pass out.
A mutual smashage.
What about tomato juice?
Ugh,
Tomato?
Pass the fuck out of that. Get that devil juice out of my sight.
But tomato juice rarely even tastes like tomatoes, Liam.
It doesn't matter, actually.
That's actually worse.
It does.
Kind of.
I will be able to taste it. It has that stigma about it. I know where it came from.
Do you think you could tell, like, if I just gave you tomato juice, do you think you'd actually be able to discern that it was tomato juice from the taste?
Yes, because it's fucking red and tomatoey.
So many things are red.
What else is red?
It could
What?
be
Name one
strawberry.
other than you.
It could be strawberry.
Strawberry. It's not going to be strawberry. You're a liar.
So many, like, beetroot.
Is beetroot not purple?
Isn't it red when you drink it in drink form? It comes out like a reddy color. Pinky, maybe?
It's somewhere between red and purple, I would say.
We're both right, or we're both wrong, whichever one you prefer.
Both right.
I prefer both wrong.
My mum actually makes like a protein shake every day, but she puts in the strangest things, and she always offers me one, and it breaks my heart because I'm like, usually I'm alright eating anything, but a lot of the times I'm like, I really don't want to drink that. Like the things that she puts in. So like my go-to protein shake is I always get something of like a chocolate protein flavor, and then I'll add in milk, peanut butter, and banana.
Do you also go work out, or do you just drink the
Yes.
protein?
No, I just do it for the gains. Just the
see what's up.
gains in
Mind
terms of
gains. I see what's
calories.
up.
Yeah. But mum doesn't like chocolate protein. Always has to get vanilla, and then adds in things like the strangest combinations. Like the other day she put in beetroot, avocado, banana, and her vanilla protein shake with some sort of milk variety.
That's just slop.
Right? Like
That sounds very wild.
Picturing it now, and it's like a substance you would see on the side of the street after someone's like thrown up and then someone else has urinated on it, and then someone else was stabbed and bled into it. That's the substance I'm picturing.
thank you for that graphic imagery.
That was a bit-
Yeah, it was a bit unnecessary.
I think if you put those three things together, that is exactly what your mother's protein shake looks like.
What was
check.
it? Pee? So it was
No,
urine?
so someone throws
vomit?
up, then someone urinates on it, then someone gets stabbed and bleeds into
Great.
it, and that'll give you the beetroot.
Okay.
zest.
Hence the red. Okay, I see. It was okay. Like, I definitely would not drink again.
Pass. Your mother spent too much time thinking about whether she could. She didn't stop to consider whether or not she should.
Should indeed.
My mum always goes through very strange, like, phases when it comes to food. And she's done this ever since we were young. Like, she really falls in love with one type of food or one ingredient, and then we have it for, like, months on end. I remember when I when I was growing up, she really fell in love with like lentils. And so like she would put lentils in everything. Like she would put lentils in our rice.
Lentils and rice.
Yeah. I mean, which isn't that bad. Like lentils and rice is fine,
It's
right?
just like mixing
just
two bases together.
Grains,
It's
yeah,
interesting,
exactly.
yeah.
Just 2 grains. She still does that now, but that's also very popular in Korea. Koreans love to eat like mixed rice where there's lots of beans and lots of other types of grains in your rice to make it healthier, supposedly. Which is funny because historically you were looked down on if that's what you did, because it'd be like, oh, you can't afford just white plain rice, because plain white rice was seen as a luxury. Whereas now if you just ate plain white rice in Korea, you'd be like, huh, you pleb.
Yeah, it's interesting how things like that happen. Like, it's the same thing with lobster as well. That used to be the poor man's food because people had to fish for it out in the villages. And then it became like this exquisite cuisine.
I had no idea that
I didn't
lobsters
know that
were...
either. That's interesting.
Really?
Yeah, a poor man's food, yeah.
No, absolutely, yeah.
I'm curious if that's true for oysters and stuff as well.
Potentially for anything that's fishing related.
What's the rationale that fishing for it equates to poor man, and having to go out and hunt something isn't something that you're also doing some laborious work for?
Well, because if you're a nobleman, you've got people to hunt for you. But, you know, if you're poor, you're probably living at the fishing village so that you can have an easy access to food every day rather than going foraging.
Actually, 18th and 19th century, a poor man's diet in Europe had caviar, oysters, lobster, foie gras, like all these.
Extravagance.
Jesus Christ.
It was seen as like a poor man's diet.
I want to be a poor man in Europe in the 18th century. But Liam, you don't like lobsters, is that correct? You don't like much seafood, right?
I wouldn't select it. Lobster, honestly, not that bad though. In comparison to, say, something like salmon, which I hate with a passion. I hate lots of things with a passion.
You hate salmon? Oh, salmon is probably my favorite ingredient.
I know,
Salmon.
everyone says that, and then they all think
Really?
I'm crazy, and maybe I
love
am.
salmon.
It's such a devilfish.
I wouldn't say that salmon's my favorite. I think salmon can be just very basic depending on how...
Salmon is so good though.
Cool.
It's true, you can prepare it in extravagant to really like shitty ways. It doesn't matter which one it is for me, it's still salmon or salmon.
When I was studying abroad in Norway, like probably 2 or 3 times a week, I would just buy, like, because Norway is really expensive, but they have a lot of really good salmon, and like it's comparatively to a lot of other things you can buy relatively cheap. So what I did is just buy sushi quality salmon and just put soy sauce or like lemon and salt on it and just eat that for lunch, which was really awesome. Honestly.
Ah, so we're talking raw, okay. I would say raw salmon's really good. I've never been to Japan to taste their fatty tuna, and I know that that's all the rage in Japan, but I'm not a big fan of sashimi tuna sashimi.
I like salmon more than tuna.
Me too, exactly, me too. I much prefer the salmon sashimi than tuna sashimi. I don't know if it's just in Australia, but I always feel like it sort of tastes like, it doesn't taste like much, and then it also just disintegrates in my mouth, sort of like a tongue.
What?
It's like a very mushy.
Tongues disintegrate in your mouth.
Tongue's not like...
Sophie, I'm a bad kisser because I dissolve my partner's tongue.
Tongues are infamously gamey. They're like super hard to chew and get down.
Like an off tongue.
That comparison was so strange in so many ways.
It's like you chose the anti-meat to help your argument. Maybe it disintegrates like slow-cooked beef or something.
No, slow-cooked beef disintegrating suggests something quite nice, like, you know, when something's so soft.
Whereas this is fish and it is not. You're right, my mistake.
I guess it is kind of like with the fatty tuna, it is kind of like nice that it melts in your mouth, quote unquote.
Okay, so maybe that is the point then. I don't know. I prefer mine to be a little bit more chewy.
Usually I would say melt in your mouth is a good descriptor. Like, people generally say that positively. I've never heard someone go like, oh, it melted in my mouth. Ugh.
But no. The tuna sashimi in Australia doesn't melt in my tongue. It disintegrates. Like, I feel like it's just breaking apart. It's not a nice, smooth flow where it's melting on my tongue. It's like falling apart. Like, it has no textual integrity.
Interesting.
Because I don't know why it's just such a hyped food. I have a friend who hates sushimi, went to Japan, fell in love with it, and now that's like something that he eats on a weekly basis in Australia, just because the sushimi in Japan was apparently so good. And even though he knows that the Australian sushimi can't even hold a candle to it, it's just something that he indulges in on a weekly basis.
Fish is relatively healthy, like apart from in general, like ethical ethical questions, just from a nutrition perspective, it's probably way healthier than like eating like obviously red meat, but even like chicken or something.
Red meat definitely, but it depends how you're preparing the fish for sure.
I'm not sure. Like I think there's still like a lot being said about like, you know, heavy metals in the fish and stuff, and like microplastics. I'm not sure how well that actually is studied.
But also it depends what you're putting the fish with. Like sushi can be not particularly healthy at all because of all the things you're cramming onto it.
Like what?
I don't know. I don't eat it, but I'm aware.
What do you cram onto your sushi?
I don't know. You tell me what goes on sushi. Like your rices and your shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, even the rice isn't just plain rice, right? There's like a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
People put in sugar, salt, vinegar. I have definitely heard that sushi is one of the most like deceptively unhealthy foods that exists out there.
No, I don't think that's true. I think that's
Like
bullshit.
you think fish and you go, ha ha ha.
No, I
Healthy,
think that's
but-
bullshit.
Okay, prove it wrong.
Like, I think it's with anything. Like, I don't think it's completely wrong. I don't think it's completely right. I don't think sushi is as healthy, but I also think that that might be because of the carb overload.
Low protein, high fat, high salt.
Yeah, exactly. But it depends on what sushi, right?
It's like sushi rice is just rice. It's like a mini rice bowl with every. But then, like in Japan, you don't always eat it with rice in the first place, right? Like real
But then
sashimi.
that's just sashimi, right?
Yeah.
That's not sushi.
Yeah.
But also sushi can be different. Like if you're having sashimi, like if you're having sushi with that's just the sashimi based sushi, I'm sure there's a special name for it. So Mana, you're gonna have to let me know. But like you can also get sushi where it's like you know, things that have been like fried.
Oh yeah,
a lot
that's
of
true.
the
But then, I mean, that's kind of
like a
special
lot of the
stuff.
stuff with like teriyaki sauce.
They have one, like the
Yeah.
place I go to relatively frequently. They have like cheese on top, which is so good, and then like a remoulade sauce.
Allegedly, sushi has higher than acceptable levels of mercury.
Is that
I
because
say
of the fish?
Allegedly. I don't know. I'm just reading a website on the internet.
I know that like fish in general has allegedly high levels of heavy metals in it, but nobody really knows if it actually is bad for you or not. Other than, for example, for red meat or white meat, where you definitely know that like the antibiotics in like.
Oh yeah. That. I would never claim that like it's worse for you than red meat. Like,
Also, at the end of the day, doesn't Japan have like one of, if not the like oldest populations
Yeah.
in terms of
guess so.
people who like live to an older age?
but it's not just because of what you eat. It's like the overall lifestyle.
But like, if you
Work-wise,
think
it's
about their
pretty
working
terrible.
lifestyle, yeah. What could be beneficial about the way that they work?
But like that average doesn't just include, you know, like your businessmen who work themselves to death and then, you know, commit suicide. It's like the entire country.
I mean, it's definitely, nutrition is a very big factor in that, as far as I know.
The average person takes more steps per day in Japan than the US and Australia and London for sure. Like 100%.
I would say that's true, but probably nutrition is still one of the biggest factors in it, I would say.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's not the only one.
Like, it's just a lot of fast foodie food here in Japan is still relatively healthy. So it's rice, which is, yes, it has like carbs and stuff, but then you also have like miso-based stuff, which is very healthy, tofu-based stuff. I mean, obviously there's like, you do see unhealthy looking people in Japan as well, like, because obviously there is processed food and fast food as well. And one thing I've actually read recently, apparently, that Japan uses a lot of like food colorings and what you call like, you know, taste enhancers and stuff like that are prohibited in the rest of the world for being cancerous.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh shit, okay.
So you kind of should refrain apparently from eating anything in Japan that's suspiciously colorful.
That's me in general. I'm not a big fan when my food is particularly colorful and like not naturally colored. Or even like I know for a certain period when I was in high school, bath bombs were all the rage.
Oh, yeah.
It always made me feel uncomfortable. Like, why would I be like why would I lie in a bright blue bathtub with like glitter surrounding all of me? Like, that doesn't feel clean.
But it looks pretty fun, though.
Like, does it? It always made me feel
When
like
you
very
like pop it
uncomfortable.
in, it goes...
Yeah, I don't know. It just like made me feel uncomfortable thinking that my naked body has to go in there.
Well, you don't have to pick the blue one.
Not a big fan of baths in general. I'm not sure if that's a man thing.
Unless it's ice related.
Yeah, unless it's ice. But then, like, for me, my ice is like, it's not a bath. It's more like a barrel, I guess, where I just like...
And you're just sort of standing
And
there.
I go in there for suffering. I think just the thought of lying down into the sarcophagus-shaped thing to submerge myself. It's just not very appealing to me as for like relaxation.
I'm someone who likes the idea of a bath, and then I get in there, and 2 minutes later, I'm like, I'm fucking bored. I'm like, I need to get out.
So, Manu, it's not a man thing, because as a penis wielder, I can say that I love baths, but
Wielder.
you need the time, you need the right conditions, and you need something to entertain you. I can't just sit in a pool of my own filth.
Oh, you're wielding a penis. What else do you need for entertainment?
But 5 minutes after that, you've got to do something else, so you've got to be prepared.
And would you really want to do that in the bathtub? Again, like, you have to lie in that. Like, would you really want to lie in a bathtub after you've sort of,
Exactly.
entertained yourself?
If anything, you've got to do that last when you're about to get out, not in the beginning.
I'm a whale. And it's spew. I don't know. I like, for example, what I really enjoy about onsen here, like hot spring, is it's a bigger pool. Like, there's like some aspect to it that makes it more interesting. Like, either there's more space, or it's outside, or they add something to the water or whatever. And there's like a certain like amount of suffering connected to it also, which I appreciate.
Right.
It's kind of like the ice bath. It's either you go in there to boil yourself, or you go in there to freeze yourself.
I see your problem. Regular baths are too relaxing for you. That's the problem. There's no aspect of suffering in my relaxing baths.
It's basically your same philosophy with milk, Liam. For Manu, it has to be really, really cold or really, really hot. There is like, you don't want a
that is true.
lukewarm water.
I think that's fair. Though.
I get you now. I empathize with you. That was perfect, Sophie.
Actually, I agree with you a lot there, Manu. I don't know if it's the nostalgia, because we have public bathhouses in Korea as well. And that's something that I grew up with before I moved over here. So now the idea of like an onsen or a public bathhouse, that really excites me, so that when I go to Korea, I always have to go to one of those. Whereas here in Australia, like, I will rarely take a bath. The last time I took a bath was because my company paid for me to stay at a hotel whilst I was at a conference, and it was a really schmick and fancy hotel where they had a nice bathroom, and I honestly forced myself to take a bath in there, because I was like, when am I ever going to pay, a couple $100 to stay at a hotel room for just one night? Like, this is never going to happen again on my own money. I don't know when the next time I'm going to be able to, enjoy this sort of luxury. So I forced myself to take a bath, and even then I lasted 5 minutes before I was like, at least I did it. I took a bath.
Because you didn't prepare something to entertain yourself.
Like a penis.
Like a bath bomb, or a penis, or say a laptop to watch all of the Spy Family you haven't seen.
Or to watch more
But
penis.
then you have to have I would just be very anxious that what if I fuck up and then I accidentally drop my laptop into the bathtub or something.
You don't have it in the bathtub, Sophie. No, you have like a chair next to the bath that the laptop is sitting on.
Like, even then, like, I don't want the knowledge that something could happen. I'm very clumsy. And things could go wrong really quickly.
Try taking a bath, Sophie. I feel the exact same way. I go in and I go like, this is nice. Okay.
Yeah, right?
Whereas that would probably be me in an onsen with like nothing to do.
But onsen still has like this kind of like anime flair, and it's more social. You're usually
it's like
there.
in the nature, right?
Yeah, and you're there with
I don't
like
know. I get
other people
bored
with
quite
friends,
easily.
and you pay money for it.
Do I have friends or just the other people?
No, you have friends also, Liam.
Right.
Of course you do.
That's nice.
And if you don't have friends, you can just buy some at the vending machine.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's very
But they will either be at the top or the bottom, because in the middle, in your eye, it'll just be Coke bottles.
This is my friend, Coke.
We should start a podcast.
Are the onsens like completely nude in Japan?
I've heard that for the women, it's apparently a bit different. For women, it's apparently very normal to. I mean, you still probably. It's not like you hide every like super like in America or something. But women apparently generally tend to cover themselves when they sit in the bath. While for guys, it's really just dicks out. It is a real sausage fest.
You wield that penis proudly.
Dicks out for the boys.
Dicks out, boys.
Did it take some getting used to when you first went, or was it like
No, because Germany has a very hardcore nude culture. I think for like usually it's Americans who have like the biggest. I'm not sure about Australia how nude people they are, but for Americans it's usually really weird apparently, like being nude.
I would say we follow more the American line of thinking.
Yeah.
We
Interesting.
don't generally do a lot of group nude activities.
No, for a country, very well known for being very laid back, And, you know, not much nudity here in Australia.
I think it's the British influence. We all have that, like, stick
That's
up our
true.
asses from that lineage.
No, we definitely have that. And then, like, you have, like, nude beaches, obviously, in Germany. Like, that's a thing. And then also in, like, Italy, or if you go to Spain, like, girls will be, like, topless on the beach. And then, obviously, if you go to the Scandinavian region or something, it's just, like, everyone's, like, just naked in the sauna together.
Topless on the fjord.
Yeah, topless in the ice water. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess that's, like, just a cultural difference where it's, like, not that big of a deal.
We have nude beaches here, but they are rare.
I think we talked about this before, that Sophie goes there.
Sophie knows them.
I'm a frequenter. But it's a cultural thing. It's because I grew up in a country where it was normal to go in a nude bathhouse. So now that's just how I get my fix.
I can't bathe by myself. I always have to go to the beach.
No, I've been actually wanting to go, and there's an onsen I know in Melbourne, and I've been wanting to go because I'm actually going to go to Melbourne at the end of this month, but I don't think I'm going to have the time to go, unfortunately, because it's like out of the way. I'd have to hire a car, and it upsets me.
I mean, the One Piece Cafe is out of the way. So if you're gonna get to that...
I think it's like over an hour's drive away. It's not Melbourne, it's actually just Victoria. I mean, though, if you wanted, I mean, you said, because I have invited you to go onto this Melbourne trip with me. So if you want to go to the bathhouse, we can make it a thing.
This obviously doesn't help, but I believe there's also an onsen in the Blue Mountains somewhere.
I know, I've wanted to go there too, but then it's always booked out.
Isn't that from the Lord of the Rings? I'm pretty sure.
Are you thinking of the Misty Mountains? Our mountains are significantly more disappointing.
The Blue Mountain Dwarfs.
I'm pretty sure we had them before Tolkien did.
Really though? Because Australia is a relatively young country.
It's like 200 years old. It's older than Tolkien would be if he was still alive, surely.
The Blue Mountains, Ered Luin. It's the elven name for the Blue Mountains in Lord
To
of the
be
Rings.
fair, it is a very generic name.
The Blue Mountains.
They're very
sure.
pretty though, in certain places.
They're blue?
They're not as blue as you'd like, to be honest.
Maybe it refers to, like, you know, when you look into the distance and, like, things get bluer the further they're away.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Like, if you're looking at it from a distance, it looks blue. But going back to where this podcast started.
Your pain and suffering?
Yes, my pain and suffering. All about my pain and suffering.
Road
Not
rage.
about pet peeves and stuff. Well, you mentioned earlier, Liam, that people in Japan walk significantly more steps than, say, in other Western countries. Is that just because of people don't drive as much in Japan?
No, it's because they're smaller. You probably walk more in steps than Liam does.
My stress level went from here to like here.
Sophie was like, I gotta set him on fire. Gotta road rage this dude.
Sorry, Liam, as you were saying.
No, as I was saying, I'm obviously the wrong person to talk about this because I'm not the one living in Japan. But I would imagine it's because public transport culture in the city is much higher than, say, Sydney. And in the country, you've practically got to walk everywhere.
There's not that much of a car culture here, I would say. Just because of great public transport. And then I guess you just walk between your house and the station and in the station.
Which is a lot more than you would do here on average, because in Sydney, it's just pretty much the norm that you own a car and you are driving.
And it's normal for most households to have more than one car.
I would say Germany is somewhere in between. Well, we have okay public transport, but also like there's like a gigantuous car culture nonetheless.
Of course,
Yes.
you've got the Autobahn,
Volkswagen, the people's car.
Hitler's car of choice.
Yeah, the people's car of choice, but they have a terrible history. They started with like concentration camp labor, and then I think they like Brazil, what was it, or Mexico? I don't remember. But basically, their entire history, they've kind of like exploited people. Like even now, apparently there's like work done for Volkswagen in like the Uyghur regions of China and stuff, kind of like forces. So yeah, they're not the best company.
Jesus, yeah, so the modern day concentration camp.
I mean, I don't think many car companies are fully out of... What am I trying to say? Companies are shit. Sophie, your car companies are also pretty shit. All of your chaebols in Korea.
Oh yeah, definitely. Chebo, but yes.
I tried.
It took me a while to figure out what you were saying, and I was like, is Chaebol a brand? I was like, no, we've got Kia, we've got Hyundai, and I was like, oh. This is something that I actually do talk to my parents about, because Koreans have a history of being colonized. Like that's a big part of like, especially for older Korean generations, like they're still upset about it because they feel like the right reparations haven't been made and the right apologies haven't been made. And like, I think that's fair, but I also have to like tell them like the Korean companies do a lot of shitty things like all around the world. Like a lot of Korean companies have, you know, fucked up parts of Africa. There's also like stories about comfort women in Vietnam which is basically the same thing that Koreans are still upset about Japan for what happened during World War II. So it's like, look, we live in a fucked up world. Like, countries just all do really shitty things. And even countries you think are the victims will, like, one day, like, when they get bigger, I'm sure have also done pretty shitty things to other countries.
I think my favorite Korean company story is the Nut Rage incident, where was it like a high-ranking official of Air Korea or Korea Air physically abused someone for serving her nuts incorrectly on a first-class flight?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't even heard of that story.
This was massive news. This was in 2014. This was like global news. I remember this.
Getting nuts served this like not correctly, I totally get that. Violence is the only adequate way to deal with incorrectly served nuts.
It's not up to my standard.
That's the thing. It did come out that she had also physically abused other cabin staff for incorrect service as well. She didn't just do that. She made the whole plane turn around, go back to the terminal so that she could boot the staff member off. So she impacted an entire flight just because of incorrect nuts.
What position do you have to hold to have that much power to turn the entire flight?
You need to be the daughter of the chairman and CEO of the company.
The new nut king.
Of the company.
Well, no, she was involved with the company, I believe, in some pretty official capacity because she had to resign from, I don't know, like board positions and such.
Because of the bad publicity after this?
Yeah, apparently it's one of the very rare cases where someone from one of these very powerful corporate Korean families had minor consequences.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
To slightly change the topic, I came across this like dude on YouTube who does shorts. He's like a Korean guy and he kind of makes shorts about, you know, how Korea interacts with other countries and like Korean culture. And he made one about basically Koreans hating anything Japanese, but still like doing it kind of. Is that a thing that Koreans hate anything Japanese? Obviously, historically, I get where it would be coming from, but I didn't know that was a thing.
I would be very surprised that it's something that still exists in, say, like my generation or even one generation above me, but definitely like my parents' generation, the generations all before that. Yes, there is still quite a bit of animosity towards Japanese people because of our history. And like I said, like to that same like degree, I can understand that because, you know, we were colonized by Japan for centuries. But yeah, it's just, I feel like, you know, we gotta take it with like, yes, we can, I understand where you're coming from, but you can't sit there with like, we are just victims mentality because Korea's definitely done some pretty crappy stuff. But I think that sort of perspective is something that I can have because I'm like removed. I haven't just grown up in Korea and I've like, you know, moved to Australia. And so I never really like found that I identified as a Korean, nor did I really identify as an Australian. So for me, like nationality and like like being patriotic is something that's really not part of my personality. But I can understand like for people who come from countries where they've gone through like colonization, why nationalism could be a big part of like who they are.
I think that's interesting that you say that because that has been like almost everyone that I know who's also German and who's moved somewhere abroad or lived somewhere abroad. That's like our collective experience that we're very uncomfortable at how patriotic other nationalities often are, because it's kind of something that's actively not taught in school, or like actively taught that patriotism, borderline nationalism is like a very bad thing for obvious reasons.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, etc.
Dude, I swear, I mean, like when I first met my like first American friends abroad, it was a big shock how incredibly patriotic, like even like people who think they're not patriotic, Americans who think they're not patriotic, even them how much every like sentence, like often sentences start with, well, in America is like a very common sentence you will hear with like American.
Because America is the center of the world, geographically and spiritually.
So when you say that it's actually actively taught in school not to be very patriotic, do you guys not have not have to sing the, I don't know, like the German national anthem at school assemblies and things like that, then so you don't do stuff like that?
We
no.
do.
I think
do. Australians do.
Really? You do?
Yeah, we sing the Australian anthem at like, school
Australians
assemblies.
all
Yeah. Like before sporting events.
Yeah, that's literally the only time when like people sing the national anthem. I feel like it's like before like World Cup matches or something. That's the only time you'll hear like the German national anthem.
And that's a big one too, so it wouldn't be like within a national league. It's not like something that you guys have to do every game, every sport game.
I think it's like being sung for like the opening of our like soccer league. I think like for the first game.
Do you know your national anthem by heart? Because if I didn't sing it, at assembly every morning in school, I don't think I would know mine.
Yeah, I don't think I would know mine either.
No, I do. I think you know them by heart.
Even now, I'm like thinking, like, could I do it now?
As a German, when you see other Germans sing the national anthem a bit too enthusiastically, it's kind of like...
Why? Why? Do I have to be cautious of you?
Yeah, kind of.
All right, Gestapo.
Still, like, our national anthem hasn't changed, actually, because I'm actually not sure how far it goes back, but it was definitely, like, the same one that was there during the Nazi era. But then the lyrics have been changed, so, like, it was like a poem that was turned into the national anthem that has, like a number of verses. And the first one is the one that used to be the national anthem until the end of the war, which is, like, extremely patriotic, and it's kind of like the greatness of Germany. And so that one's kind of illegal. It's illegal now to sing that, so you can get into prison.
I would have thought that the first point of order would be, shall we tone that part down, guys?
Exactly. So like the third one is very like more generic kind of. I don't know. Yeah, it's a really interesting thing, like patriotism. To a certain degree, I understand why it gives people, it's a bit like religion, I think. I understand how it gives people something to believe in and like a higher purpose maybe. And I think there's nothing wrong with identifying with your country and, working, like being part of like a machinery that produces a better life for people overall. But at a certain point, I think it just turns like negative very quickly, I guess is a polite way of saying it.
When it becomes blind patriotism instead of more, I appreciate being Australian because of X, Y, and Z.
Which is like why it's even more interesting to see. I mean, I don't want to get into that too much, but I think it's very interesting to see the political divisiveness in the US at the moment, because in a way, all Americans identify so strongly with their country, but like internally.
True patriots.
Yeah, like everyone feels that way, and like internally, nonetheless, there's like so much tension and so much polarization. So I think that's really fascinating from an outside perspective.
I think that polarization comes because everyone has a different definition of what it is to be a patriot and what patriotism is, what it is to be American, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Which is the same over here.
Yeah, Australians can also be quite patriotic.
Oh, yes. The Cronulla riots proved that.
Oh,
that
yeah.
Was like,
yeah.
The what of riots?
The Cronulla
riots.
It was an Australia Day racist riot. Full of patriots, full of like, there's this very famous picture of a dude with an Australian flag punching someone in like the big riot scrum that they were doing.
It's really bizarre. I've always found it really funny because Australia really like sells itself as a very multicultural country. Like, oh, we're a multicultural hub. We accept all like nations, and we're a very multicultural
just
society.
Don't move into the white neighborhoods though, essentially.
But even like, and it's something that they really drive home. Like I know that for ESL students, learning about Australian values is like a core unit that you have to do as part of English if you're studying English and you're doing the English as a second language stream. And so like all of their assessments is like learning about like Australian culture and about like all of these, what makes you an Australian. And it's always about like multiculturalism and the value of like Australian mateship, because mateship is something that Australians really love to like identify as like something so core and integral to our culture.
Yeah. Deeper than family, mateship.
Yeah, mateship. We're all good mates. But like in reality, that's actually like really not what it's like. Or even I find it very bizarre that a study on like Australia's history with our First Nations people is something that is part of our school curriculum, which I've always found very bizarre because it's almost like counterintuitive in a way, because I think it's great that it is in our school curriculum because it should be.
Yes.
But then when you actually get out into the real world, like the laws that we have that pertains to our relationship with Indigenous cultures is like exactly the opposite. Like I think we must be one of the worst countries when it comes to our recognition and respect for our First Nations people.
I would agree with that. Yes.
I guess they all left.
No, more like they all got killed
More
off.
like we killed them all, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the joke. True. I mean, actually, yeah, I feel like we learned about that a little bit in school, but I guess, yeah, in general, Australian history. I mean, Australian history is relatively young, I guess, and also not that much of a focus. I think we only learned about it maybe in English, in our English classes, definitely not in history classes.
That wouldn't surprise me. I think Australia gets neglected by a lot of the world, and we are fairly small scale in comparison to the rest of the world.
We also do a lot of crappy stuff.
We still do shit stuff, like really shit stuff.
Like what?
We get in trouble from the UN like every year because of the way we treat our indigenous cultures. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or the
absolutely.
way that we treat refugees. Yeah, we're always getting
Refugees are a big one, absolutely huge.
Yeah, very politically divisive topic as well.
We had one prime minister run on the slogan of "Stop the boats," which I believe was it Tony Abbott?
Yeah.
And he was our prime minister for a long time, and that was his main priority.
So we had an election earlier this year, and the ratings were not good for our previous prime minister, who was now left,
Skyman.
who was voted out of office. Yes,
yeah.
as a sort of political trick. On the morning of the election day, certain parties. So if you was like, if you lived in a, I guess, in one of the seats that were still sort of on the fence and it wasn't very clear, people were getting votes. Like that party was sending a text message that morning to those people in those electorates about like, warning, a refugee boat was just stopped this morning. And like, this was a text message that no one had ever received before, because it's like those things are considered matters of like national security and home affairs. So it would never be sent to normal civilians on a normal Saturday morning. But because it was election day, that text message was sent out.
So like classic populism, nationalism kind of.
Like breeding fear, essentially. Like immigration bad, steal your job, murder your friends.
But yeah, Australia, mateship.
How is it in Australia for like as an Asian, Sophie? How is it? Because like there's a giant Asian community in like, at least in Sydney, I know, or like Australia overall, no?
So I think if you are in like the metropolitan hubs, it's fine. Like if you're in Sydney, if you're in Melbourne, like I don't think you'd stand out. But I do definitely feel like I do stand out if, again, like I do go to a lot of suburbs or areas that are predominantly white. Like if it's a lot of just Anglo-Australians, like I definitely do feel
Like
the
say
difference.
the Shire or the North Shore, etc.
Yeah, or even like further out. I know I had a friend who was Korean who moved to Toowoomba when he was in high school, which is in Queensland, but it's not like the main city. It's sort of like further up north. And he said that he was maybe the only Asian.
Holy shit.
Yeah, like the only Asian in his school. He was the only Asian in his school. Oof. And I remember him saying like, it was like, it's just, like very casual racism where he was like, oh, like it was fine. I don't think they meant it in a negative way, but everything surrounded, like any comment that was made about him was like, oh, you're funny for an Asian, or you're this for an Asian. Like everything is like, you're something for an Asian.
It was very much the same when I was studying in Wagga Wagga, which is like 6 hours inlandish of Sydney. Despite the fact that it was an absolutely massive university, it was like 99.9% white. It would be extraordinarily rare to see someone of a different ethnicity. And when that did happen, it was, of course, noteworthy, and so that effect that Sophie said would happen. I don't think anyone meant anything by it, but it was just that innate, like, for an Asian girl, you're pretty cool, or etc.
Speaking of Wagga Wagga, so I think I've told you before, Liam, that my mum went to the same university as you, but like she was studying remotely. She was studying in a different campus, but still was Bathurst, so not quite as far away. It's only about 2-ish hours away, but we went last year for her graduation. So my dad, my mum and I, we drove up for her graduation to Bathurst. So this was last year, so it wasn't during the lockdown, but obviously this was post-COVID or after COVID had started. So obviously Australia didn't have as many tourists. We weren't having as many like migration, but still then we went into a local coffee shop to have brunch or something. And then the shopkeeper asked like, oh, are you guys traveling? And so my dad just figured, yes, like because we're coming from Sydney. So yes, I guess we are like, we are here on travel. So my dad answered yes. And she was like, where are you from? And my dad's like, Sydney. And she's like, no. Like, where are you from?
Oh, no.
My wife gets this all the time. My wife, for some reference, grew up in England, then moved to Australia. And I have seen this conversation play out with Chantel so many times where, we're starting a friendly conversation with a stranger and Chantel gets asked, where are you from? England. And then the next answer is, oh yeah, but like, where are you from? As if like they're obviously expecting like name an African country or name like a Southern American country. But like there's always that awkward moment of like England. And then the person going, oh, I'm a fuckwit.
I totally see why, I mean, as a white person, I can totally see why that, like, that question would annoy the fuck out of me if I was, like, any other ethnicity. I totally understand, like, I think you can be curious about someone's heritage in, like, in, like, a normal way, but I feel like then you should phrase it in that way, where it's, like, where are your roots from or something, or what's your heritage or whatever.
But even then, like, that's not one of the first questions that you or I would normally get. Like, where is your heritage?
No, yeah. You would ask that someone like you've gotten to know and like you've been hanging out for a while maybe.
Whereas with Chantel, without fail, that's one of the first 3 questions someone is going to ask. What do you do? I don't know. Why are you here and where are you from? It's a very early question that always gets asked.
Ouch.
But like, it's not just like, it's just, because I get that question a lot as well, but it's not necessarily a question that I'd say I only get from white Australians. Like a lot of other people who are also migrants or who have sort of like a different ethnic background will ask me that. I think like you said, Manu, from a general, like genuine point of curiosity. I don't know, maybe it just feels different when someone else also isn't obviously a very white Australian who asks me that, because then it's like maybe they want to see whether we can relate on certain things.
I mean, I'm sure there's like you have like both ways. I'm sure you have a lot of white people who are like generally just curious and don't mean anything bad by it, and I'm sure you also have other ethnicities who are like still racist. Like, I mean, that's still a thing, right? So
I actually have a funny story on this. This happened when I was younger. I think I was in primary school at the time, or maybe I was early high school. I was on the bus with my mum, and we got into this conversation with this I think he was Eastern European. He had a thick accent, but he was really curious on like finding out where we were coming from. But he didn't want to just ask us. He wanted to guess where we were from. So he like guessed all of these Asian countries. And like, you're from China? Like, no. You're from Japan? No. Are you Thai? No. No. Okay, where are you from? And my mum goes, oh, we're from Korea. And he goes, it's all right. You're all Mongolians.
Whoa.
And it's just like, why did you make a big deal about guessing where we were from then? Like, if that's where you're coming from.
I'm really just waiting to say my line. Oh my god.
He was in it for the long game.
Yeah, he dedicated to his racism, dude.
It's almost as if he correctly deduced that you were Korean and deliberately went through the circle of
all of that. Yeah, just to get that last line.
I think it's been really interesting, like living in Japan is like kind of the first time that as a white person you like actually experience like racism, which is probably, I personally think is probably a good experience for anyone to like have been on the other end of the stick for a change. Probably a good experience.
100%.
Do you feel that you actually do experience it a lot, Manu?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably different from like what you would expect or what like a black person in America would experience, right? But still, like it's absolutely a thing. Like when you're out with a Japanese person or an Asian looking person, even though you speak to someone in fluent Japanese, sometimes people will just turn to the most Asian looking person and talk to them instead. It's very normal that like you want to go to a more, that's not like a super public restaurant, that's something that's more like hidden and like traditional, and people will just be like, no, we're full, even though clearly they're not full, or we're closed but they're clearly open. And sometimes they change their mind when you start speaking Japanese. Sometimes they don't. But yeah, so it's very like a lot of very subtle stuff. I don't think I know that it's a bit different again for female foreigners, because I think the fact that I'm like over 180 and have a beard and do sports, I think that like people wouldn't dare to like be
very
actually
imposing, Manu.
Yeah, especially in Japan. I'm tall. So I don't think people would dare to actually like say or do something. I've experienced that once when my family came to visit, actually, when I first lived here, like someone in the metro started shouting at us. So that happens. But usually like apparently for girls, that's a more common experience, that people actually like are a bit more quote unquote aggressive racism.
Oh, really?
Oh.
I guess because they're seen as like more like, oh, she probably wouldn't do anything about it, I guess, kind of vibe.
Mentality, yeah.
But then I feel like there's a lot of like packed up, and this might might be related or unrelated, I know that, but there's like a lot of suppressed anger in general, I think, in Japanese society, where I know, for example, like in Japan you have like there's a
suppressed. No.
There's a tag which basically indicates that someone is pregnant, or there's one for like disabilities. They introduced that in the hope that when people would see that like a woman who's pregnant, people would obviously like give them the seat and like take care to help them and so on and so forth. What would happen though is that people would like punch these women in the belly, like in the train. Yeah. Exactly. So pretty fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus.
And on that,
just like give an elbow and stuff.
Jesus.
Yeah, on that terrible, depressing note, don't be a dickhead. Do not go around punching pregnant women.
Or any women
Do
or anyone.
give away. Yes, do not go around punching people.
Except if they don't give you the right nuts. If the nuts are not properly served, then you can punch them. But that's the only
Understand.
excuse.
And also if someone doesn't give you a courteous wave when you let them in, yes, then you have our pass to go punch them.
Full
Okay.
circle.
All right, well, thank you for another episode. Make sure to tune in.
Yeah, if you want more content and even more R-rated content than this, we have wonderful member-only episodes that you can access by supporting the podcast and also getting a special blue emote in the comment sections, and you can ask us questions and so on and so forth.
That.
Okay, bye.